taking the same data that we just used to build our frequency table, we're going to go ahead and introduce the SPC for Excel toolbar and build our histogram and Pareto chart with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is point you to the SPC for Excel toolbar. Now here, the toolbar will generate, with a click of a button, any histogram, Pareto chart, and descriptive statistics that we're going to need. If you see here on the upper left-hand side, it says Pareto and histogram. And these are the shapes of the charts, by the way. A Pareto chart is always with the most amount of the material in the first categories, and then it trails off. And then a histogram is generally a history picture of the data. So it's not regrouping it, but it's showing you the data as it is to be displayed. And then we'll go through a few other pieces. The PowerPoint and the Word. These two will transfer any chart that we build directly into a PowerPoint or a Word. And inside the other tools, if I click on that, it'll bring up all of the descriptive statistics and the other options that are available through the toolbar that we can use with, again, a click of a button. Doesn't seem to be coming up right now. Here we go. So here you can see descriptive statistics, a side-by-side histogram, plotting many variables to show different relationships, to show correlation, and other options here. These we'll get to later on in the course, the confidence intervals and such. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. Okay, so here with this data, our random set of responses, I'm going to select the first cell, which says 16. And then I'm going to click the button that says Select Cells. I click it once and it selects the cell in the first column. I click it twice and it selects all of my data. Now this data set is rather compact. It would be, if we had a much larger data set, which you probably will have later, this key will become very useful. Now I select the histogram. And what pulls up is really a set of questions that Excel needs us to answer in order to build the histogram. So we're going to answer Excel's questions as they come to us one at a time. The first question says, enter the location of values. A2, that's this first cell, to F15, that's this last cell. We've done that already. Now it says title your histogram. So we're going to change the title to my first histogram. The next two categories want to know what the axes are. Axes are categories, or how we're going to describe the information. The x-axis, we're going to say, is what our data represents, the random set of responses. So I'm going to say, actually, I think I'm going to say survey responses. And I'll keep the y-axis as the frequency because it's the count of those survey responses. The name of the chart below has to do with how we're going to name the spreadsheet for the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one data graph, actually data histogram example. Now down at the bottom we have, do we include descriptive statistics or not? Well, you know what, let's click this button that says select change which to include. And when we do that, we get a whole slew of choices. Uncheck all, and we're going to select the mean, the median, the standard deviation, the variance, the count, and the range. And then say OK. asks us, enter the number of digits to the right of the decimal. Right now that says 0. In any number, like take a number 10.5, how many digits do we have to the right of the decimal point? 1. That would be the 5 in 10.5. Here we don't have any numbers to the right, so we'll keep it with 0 and say OK. Once you click OK, Excel begins to generate the histogram. And as it's generating the video there, yours will probably work much faster than this one. I'm not sure what the uh, hang up is right now. And here it comes. And what you see is the histogram that we just built. I'm going to try and get this window to go. Here's my first histogram, the descriptive statistics that we wanted to see. And if I can just get this to go down a little bit further, I'll show you guys. The bottom of the axis says survey responses. And then I want to show you this other aspect that it brings up for us. And that's the frequency table. If I click on View FD, it brings in the frequency table with the class boundaries and the class limits, the relative frequency percent, and so on. And I'm just going to slide this over so we get a better view of it. Now, let's say that we're not happy with this level of categories. So we can click on classes here. And I encourage you to play with this feature. Make it what you want it to be. Because this is showing a uniform distribution, and I really want to see if if there's a different distribution. So I'm going to change the number of classes to 12. And I'll say OK. And when I do that, Excel then recalculates the entire histogram and frequency distribution table to include 12 classes instead of 10. It'll take just a minute to work. Histograms are very useful for understanding how data falls with respect to the median and the mean and the mode, and then moves out the way the shape of the data goes. If you notice here, when we changed the classes, now we can see smaller classes, and it's not so uniformed anymore. Let's say that these colors here are not the colors that you would particularly pick. Let's say you want to do green. So I can click on green and change my whole chart to a color of green or purple. Now, clicking back onto your spcforexcel toolbar, I'm going to go ahead and click on the PowerPoint button. And what that'll do is take this entire chart that we just created and embed it into a PowerPoint presentation, again with the click of a button. And that loads up. And there we go. And it popped up in I'll talk to you again soon with another example shortly.